The black man who trapped the world in sin. Step 1. Augustine of Hippo was a black man from North Africa, modern-day Algeria. Born in 354 AD city, Hippo Regius was a powerful Roman port where African thinkers shaped theology that later ruled Europe. Augustine rose to become a bishop, but more importantly, he became the architect of Christian doctrine. 2. The birth of original sin. Before Augustine, no one talked about humans being born sinful. Hebrew scrolls never used that concept. Judaism, the religion Jesus himself followed, teaches accountability for your own actions, not guilt at birth. Augustine twisted this, teaching that humanity inherited guilt from Adam and Eve. This idea does not exist in any scrolls from the so-called time of Jesus. It was created centuries later by Augustine. He gave the church its greatest weapon, mental slavery through guilt. 3. The word game. Sin. The word sin, as Augustine defined it, was never in the Hebrew Torah or even in the teachings of Jesus. The Hebrew word chatath meant to miss the mark, not eternal damnation. The church turned a simple word about mistakes into a life sentence you could never escape. The illiterate trick. Christian. Most don't know this. The original word, Christianos in Greek, was a slur, meaning uneducated, illiterate, outsiders. It wasn't a badge of honor, it was an insult. The earliest so-called Christians didn't even call themselves that. And here's the contradiction. Jesus was Jewish, not a Christian. How can you be a follower of Christ if he never was a Christian himself? That alone exposes the programming, following a label that was never his. The chokehold of Augustine's doctrine. With Augustine's doctrine, the church locked generations in a cycle. You are born guilty. You need saving. Only the church can offer the cure. And black Christians have carried this chokehold for centuries, never questioning the origin. 6. Why it makes no sense. How can you be born guilty for something you never did? How does an all-loving God condemn babies before their first breath? How can Jesus dying for sins matter when original sin was invented after he was gone? Logic shatters the lie. 7. The program Christianity isn't following Christ. It's following doctrines created hundreds of years later by men like Augustine of Hippo. The system was programmed, first to control Romans, then to enslave Africans, then to colonize the world. 8. Your ancestors never believed you were born guilty. African spirituality taught balance, reciprocity, and ancestral guidance, not lifelong guilt. 9. The flip. The colonizers made guilt the foundation of life and turned forgiveness into a business. That's not spirituality. That's psychological slavery. 10. So when people say, "I'm a Christian," remind them. The word originally meant illiterate outsiders. When they say, "Jesus died for my sins," remind them, sin, as they know it, was created by Augustine of Hippo, centuries later. Final thought. The whole foundation of Christianity rests on ideas that didn't even exist in the time of Jesus. Augustine of Hippo, a black man in North Africa, created the doctrine of original sin centuries later. The word sin as eternal guilt, never in the Hebrew scrolls. The word Christian, it originally meant illiterate outsider, not follower of Christ. And Jesus himself, he was Jewish, not a Christian. So here's the truth. You were never born guilty. You were never born broken. And you don't need to pay a church for forgiveness that your ancestors never believed you owed.